You had brought up the conversation about whether or not AARO would be cleared to hear what David Grusch has to offer. Now, I'm no attorney, so my friendly caveat here is that this isn't legal advice for anybody, but I do believe with high confidence that this is accurate. When you have an official DoD statement that has come out, and this is verifiable, that
so
the
I can pull it up real quick here. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Is this it?
No, it's not in the batch of documents. So I'm speaking to a statement that Susan Goff, which I know gets a lot of heat from people in the UFO community. It doesn't matter who said it, Susan Goff or not. It is an official statement by the U.S. Department of Defense. And essentially what they stated was that AARO was cleared to receive information under Title 10 and Title 50 umbrellas, meaning they were cleared to hear this. Now, there was some legal nitty gritty that came after that, but and what that involved was essentially them going to the CIA, meaning AARO going to the CIA and pressing for information that may touch on a non-UAP related SAP or something like that. That gets into a much different conversation. But when it comes to David Grusch and or whomever else, when it comes to Title 10 or Title 50 related information, that could be conveyed to AARO with no problem. Now, that was just one statement. So it's like, well, how do we know that this is real? Well, in this batch of documents, now back to the packet that you have on your screen, towards the end are two memos, one of which is from a major general who is the director of SAPCO. I'm going to pull it up here myself because I don't have it up. But the director of SAPCO.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Or the next one?
There's two of them. The very last.
There's two of them, yeah.
Yep. I'll deal with the very last page first, the one on your screen there. That is signed by Major General David Abba. He's the director of the DoD Special Access Program, Central Office, or SAPCO. Essentially, they are saying that whomever has an NDA security clearance all the way up to top secret, if there is this UAP-related information that AARO needs, they are cleared to give it. Now, above that is what seems to be an identical memo, but it's not. It's very, very similar. This one was from CAPCO within the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. This is yet again reiterating that AARO had the ability to hear this information, receive this information. You can see down the crossed out portion where it says top secret /SCI or SAP. That was where some of the language differed from the first letter that I went over. Point being is that now we have ODNI and the DoD in their SAPCO office saying, yes, AARO can receive everything. And if you look at the second paragraph, I think it is from memory, it specifically addresses non-disclosure agreements, and that essentially any U.S. government non-disclosure agreement that they are subjected to, it didn't matter that AARO was still authorized. Now, a lot of this is boring language, nitty gritty. What's the bottom line? AARO was cleared to receive the information. And where I said I wasn't an attorney and this wasn't legal advice, what I say with high confidence is that anybody with legal background will agree that an attorney, a real attorney, would look at these statements, the DoD statement, the SAPCO letter, and the one from ODNI. And they would look at all of that. And then if one of their clients went into AARO, gave them information, and then they got in trouble, they would have a field day with this. There is no way with these three pieces of official evidence that's verifiable now by anybody that somebody goes into AARO and shares that UAP-related information and they all of a sudden get repercussions from that. I don't see it. Any lawyer would have a field day. This is black and white, specifically addressing NDAs. You hear a lot of people banter about this online. Well, those NDAs, they can't go against that, and AARO didn't show the proper clearance. This is that proper clearance. You can't get more specific than this. And so I get fired up when people have that argument on behalf of David Grusch, just simply because it's black and white now. FOIA brought this out. If they want to dispute these letters and say, well, FOIA is useless because this is all made up, fine. And by the way, people, yes, they do that. I get accused posting hoax documents and stuff like that,
Wow.
quite more often than you would think, even though they can verify it themselves. But regardless, if you're going to make that accusation against me, the government, or both, you got to prove it, right? You can't just make the accusation, go, well, none of this means anything. No, it means an awful lot. There are 3 verifiable pieces of evidence now that support that David Grusch would be absolutely cleared to go in there. Now, not to get too nitty gritty, there may be portions, maybe, if he is talking about non-UAP related SAPs on a Title 50 level, that maybe you could maybe make a case that he wouldn't be legally allowed to tell AARO. Again, not being a lawyer, but I read all this and go, yeah, maybe, but I highly doubt it. I really do. But if that were true, let's just operate off the assumption that there is a portion. There is still a pile of evidence that I believe, just based on David Grusch's testimony, that he could still pass on to AARO that likely would not impede on that non-UAP related SAP. Or did all 40 witnesses all root to some CIA SAP that would fit in that gray area? To me, I'm sorry, I doubt it. So I think that people are overcomplicating this. And I think that with that said, we have to ask, why are they overcomplicating it? Because it's too easy now. It's too easy to prove that David Grusch can go in there. No one that went in there that was associated with Grusch, because we did learn from Kirkpatrick that some of them did. No one got in trouble, at least not any. And I would imagine if they did, we'd hear about it. So this information is being shared and by others, and there's no repercussions. So why David Grusch is so reluctant to do it, even when Congress itself, who's championed David Grusch, right? I mean, there's part of Congress that has championed his story, that have shown no doubt, that won him in front of a congressional committee under oath. So you can't say that they're part of this conspiracy too. So if they are encouraging him to do this, why doesn't he do it? And that's an unanswered question. I hope we get the answer to someday.
Well, look, let me play devil's advocate since, right, you gave that side. I mean, David Grusch isn't here, so I'll pretend to sort of maybe try to understand maybe his mindset. Again, I don't know. I'm not speaking for him by no means. I agree with a lot of what you said there. But let's assume, again, just miscommunication, even though he's getting that from, representatives of AARO, that's still not enough for him. In his mind, my investigation, I whistleblew, I testified, like this is more important. I need to be absolutely certain, not some assistant to AARO is emailing me saying, meet me in the lobby at some place. And he's thinking, no. I need more confirmation than just this. You need, because I could tell from some of those documents that Grusch was asking for more information and through Mellon and stuff, and they were kind of going around about. So maybe there's something there. And let's say point number 2 would be maybe Grusch just doesn't respect AARO at all, period, which I can understand to some extent. I don't know if AARO collected evidence or did interviews with people in all the right way 100%. Now, that could be a whole nother podcast on its own of what you think of that. But just from his mindset, maybe, that's happening. And there's some proof of that in some of these messages in the documents released where someone on behalf of Grusch is reaching out to Kirk. I don't think it's Kirkpatrick, but somebody somewhere in there, it's like, oh, they have bad blood. David Grusch does not really, he's got bad blood with Sean. So maybe there's some personal sort of, I don't want to use the word vendetta, but personal, wall up that's keeping him from, what, I'm not throwing this guy this bone. I tried, something and whatever. I'm not. Maybe, again, just playing devil's advocate here, but it's been said that there's this like other, line of leadership above Kirkpatrick, this secret sort of group that's really pulling the strings of AARO. And maybe in Grusch's mind, he's thinking, well, why am I going to go to the people I'm trying to out here in my investigation? Why am I going to go tell them what my investigation is? Again, I don't know if David Grusch is thinking that. I'm just playing devil's advocate and I'm just throwing out different ideas, but it is fascinating to say the least. At the end of the day, does it matter if Grusch gives his testimony to AARO? I personally don't think so. I don't think it really matters. But I get the whole conversation about it because, you know, what it uncovers, right? Any information is good information.